Welcome, everybody, to the newest installment of Parleh Madness, powered by Duke's freshly crafted smoked meats. I'm your host, Luca Rosano, alongside my co-host, Jelani Reid, and we are here on this Sunday to react to Selection Sunday. Yes, we now know our 2022 March Madness bracket, and this March Madness is going to hit different, Jelani, because fans will be back. They're going to be ready to go, and we got a lot to get to. I'm rocking my Michigan sweater. Jelani's rocking North
I see
Carolina.
that.
So
Yep.
I love it already, man. It's going to be a fantastic March Madness and March for NCAA hoops. So, yeah, we're going to dive right into it, and we're going to talk about these matchups, and Jelani and I will make our favorite pick to get out of the region, but also we're going to give you one dark horse pick for each region that could surprise a lot of people and make a deep run. So let's first start with the West region. And we got the number one overall seed to nobody's surprise. Gonzaga, they'll be taking on Georgia State. 8-9 matchup. We got Boise State taking on the Memphis Tigers. The 5-12 sees UConn taking on New Mexico State. Then we got 4-13 featuring Arkansas and Vermont. Then you got Alabama as the 6th seed taking on the winner of either Rutgers or Notre Dame. That's the first four matchup. Then you got Texas Tech taking on Montana State, followed by Michigan State Davidson. And then finally, in the bottom half of the bracket, you got Duke taking on CS Fullerton. So I've done a lot of talking so far, Jelani. I'll give you the floor now. Your instant reaction to this region and who is your favorite, followed by your dark horse pick for this one.
Yeah, so I'm watching this region, and you're obviously saying to yourself, there are two teams that everybody is talking about right now. You're looking at Gonzaga and you're looking at Duke. As for Gonzaga, look, guys, this is the number one team in the nation. They have been playing great basketball on the year. When you're looking at their ranking in terms of the net rating, they have been number one, in terms of that area, and also in terms of the bracketology. This whole time, we've been saying Gonzaga has like the light at the end of the tunnel is the championship because they're so good, they're so talented. And that's what you get from these Mark Few teams, right? Mark Few has been here since 1999 as the head coach. He was there previously, but as head coach, he came in 99. Since being here, they have not missed a tournament, guys. So this is a team that has plenty of experience as we move forward now. We're seeing guys like Timmy and Nemhart. Those are going to be the guys that are going to be the pillars as they move forward in this tournament. But my question for them is, are they going to get it done? Because they were very close last year. Obviously, they lost, in the Final Four and then the championship. I just don't know if they could get it done. To me, last year was their easiest opportunity just because I didn't see any threat ahead of them or in front of them. But this time around, there are plenty of teams that could, vie for that spot. So how is Gonzaga going to look this time around, being that team, being that number one? As for Duke, again, it's Coach K's last dance, right? And a lot of people would want to see him win the championship. Not myself, because I don't like Duke, as you could tell from my hoodie. But if they want to get it done, you're obviously going to lean towards Paolo Banchero and his play. But I'm also looking at a guy that needs to have a good tournament for them. If they want to go deep, would have to be Trevor Keels. I think Trevor Keels is going to be an X factor. But yeah, and just to wrap up, for one team to watch, as we look at this region, I want to say Boise State, because Boise State, they're playing that 8-9 spot. Guys, when you're picking the 8-9s, it's always it's 50-50, okay? So this can go either way. But if Boise State does win, right, they just won the Mountain West. So if they do win another game, they're feeling good about themselves, then they would possibly, most likely meet up with the Gonzaga Bulldogs in the second round. They could play spoiler. We don't know, right? Anything could happen this time of year. So watch out for that potential matchup with Gonzaga and Boise State in the second round.
Yeah, the 8-9 matchups are always so intriguing to me. You literally can flip a coin. And this is a tournament especially where the winner of those 8-9 matchups, I think, will really challenge the number one seed. You look across the entire tournament. We're going to get to the other regions in just a minute, but these 8-9 teams are talented. So, I mean, yeah, you look at Gonzaga, number one, that had a perfect opportunity last year. Like you said, perfect season, falling just short to the defending champs, the Baylor Bears, in the national championship. My biggest takeaway from this region, Jelani, is it's going to be very tough for Duke. Everybody's talking about Coach K and his last hurrah. They're going to get it done. There are a lot of good teams in this region that Duke has to get through ultimately to a Final Four. And I don't know if they'll be able to do that. I mean, you talk about Gonzaga, obviously that would come later on. You talk about a team like Alabama, who has done a lot of good things this season. And one team that I look at as my dark horse pick, if you will, to make a run is Texas Tech. I really like where they are in this bracket. I think it's a very favorable spot with them in the 3 seed. So that's a team to me that I would deem a dark horse. As far as my favorite, I think it ultimately will be Gonzaga. They got a lot of the guys back from last year's run. You know, Timmy has been a big catalyst of that. And I think this is going to be Gonzaga's side of the bracket to lose. So I ultimately see Gonzaga getting through. But yeah, dark horse, I like Texas Tech. And yeah, we'll see what happens with Duke. Duke's definitely going to be there. They're going to be one of the best teams to try to contain, but it's going to be tough trying to go through all those teams. And another thing I want to just quickly mention, a dangerous team, if you will, New Mexico State. This is a team that's got outstanding guard play, so just look out for them as they're going to be taking on UConn in that 5-12 matchup. And we know the 12 seed is usually that seed that cashes in a lot of times in this tournament.
They win those. So if you're better, then go for the 5-12. Go for those 8-9s. Those are the type of games that can go either way. Also, the 6-11 ones. Those ones always hit.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on now to the South region. The number 1, Arizona, only 1 loss all year long. The Wildcats looking to make a run. They're going to be taking on Wright State or Bryant. That's the other first 4 matchup. Then we got Seton Hall taking on TCU, followed by Houston taking on UAB. They are making their first tournament appearance since 2015. Then you got Illinois taking on Chattanooga. This is a team that nobody really expected this year to have the type of success that they've had. So great to see them there as that 13 seed. Colorado State taking on Michigan. Michigan, this was a surprise, man. They were a bubble team. A lot of people thought they weren't even going to get in, but they got in with room to spare. And then we have Colorado State, Michigan, like I just mentioned. Then we got Tennessee Longwood making their first tournament appearance ever. So we've been seeing a lot of new teams enter the mix this year. Then we got Ohio State taking on Loyola Chicago. That is a team that is no stranger to ripping up a bunch of brackets with Sister Jean leading the way. And then finally Villanova, taking on Delaware. So when looking at this region, Jelani, the South region, what stands out to you?
It's a region with a lot of contenders, right? You're talking about Villanova. You're obviously talking about Illinois. So those 2 teams, I think they could make runs, but you're also looking at Tennessee. Tennessee, they just won their conference, the SEC, and they're playing well. They're playing good basketball this year. So we'll see what happens with them as they play Longwood. I would expect them to win that. Then you're looking at a potential matchup with either Michigan, Colorado State. I expect them to move on from that. So we'll see what happens, down the line. So Tennessee could possibly be a team to watch. But yeah, of course, Arizona. I mean, this is honestly among the number 1 seeds. I would say that this is the team that I would pick to go all the way. If you're asking me what 1 seed I trust the most, I would go with Arizona. They do it on both sides of the ball. They're quick pace. They've done great jobs, in terms of just beating the good teams this season, right? They've managed to be a strong bet in terms of, the spread and the money line, 31-3 this year. And they're only one of 2 teams with only 3 losses among the major conferences, that being Arizona and Gonzaga. So again, when you're talking about the favorites of this region, I do actually believe this is where we will see a number 1 seed go all the way and get past their region. I think that when you're looking at, them just being the Pac-12 champs, them understanding their competition, playing, just great basketball offensively, we've seen throughout the whole course of the season, right? And Arizona, to me, I do think they are the favorite in this region, a team to watch out for if you're looking at dark horse. I don't know how much of a dark horse this would be, but I would say Illinois, right? Illinois has the talent to play with anybody in the country. They really do. And when you're talking about them, they've had one of the toughest strengths of schedule on the year, being 16th in strength of schedule. And they managed to right the ship through Kofi Cockburn. Kofi Cockburn, big man, he's one of the best big men in the country. He does it in terms of, just being a walking double-double. So watch for him. If they want to win this tournament, he's gonna have to show up, because last year, remember, they also had some good parts all over the court, but they just couldn't get it done, right? And they were actually my pick last year to win the tournament, and they got upset really early, as the defending champions of their conference of the Big Ten. So we'll see what happens with Illinois as we move forward. But yeah, that will be the dark horse for me. But the team to watch, the team I think is actually coming out of here, is going to be Arizona, just given the fact that they have one of the best offenses in the nation. They have been, a solid bet. They have the second best odds to win this whole thing at plus 650. So yeah, give me the Arizona Wildcats in this region.
I got to agree with you in terms of the favorite. I think Arizona would be a great bet, especially at those odds. They've been doing it all season long. They're number one for a reason. They've been dominating their competition. In terms of dark horse surprise teams, if you will, I got a couple of them. Let's first start with Chattanooga. I think they're going to upset Illinois, man. That's my hot
Yeah.
take to start us off here. I know that's your team to potentially make a run. I think Illinois is going to go down early once again. You look at Chattanooga, they feel like a power conference team. This is a team that I think is going to come out of nowhere. And you look at where they're at, that 13 seed. 13 seeds are 5-7 in that spot over the last 12 years. So, I mean, this is a spot where, the 13 seed could very well challenge the number 4. And Illinois, they have been that team that, they usually fall early in the tournament. Just take last year, for example. So that's one team I'm looking at. A more realistic dark horse in terms of actually getting out of this region that I really like, Tennessee. And you look at them, they had an outside shot at number 1. And they could have easily been a number 1 or number 2 just based on their strength of schedule. And in my opinion, they shouldn't be a number 3. So I think that's actually going to motivate them. They could be a team that could break out and make a deep run and possibly even make it to a Final Four. At the very least, I could see them getting to an Elite 8. So those are two teams. And then the other team that I just want to show some love to is Loyola Chicago. I mean, every time you see this team in the tournament, you just know they might be up to something special.
Yep.
You got the magic of Sister Jean. She's going to be there watching the games, and it's going to be great to see that. And then one more team is UAB, a very explosive team. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup for Houston, so look out for that. But ultimately, I agree with you. Arizona is my favorite to get on through. Dark horse team, though, to possibly get through Zona. Tennessee, if they can get there. So those are the two teams that I'm looking out for. And then, of course, Chattanooga to beat Illinois. That's my hot take for this region. Okay, we are going to now get into the Midwest region. But before we do, I just want to once again announce that Parleh Madness is powered by Duke's freshly crafted smoked meats. Duke's products are freshly crafted with real ingredients. And Jelani and I are going to be enjoying some Dukes as we watch all these March Madness games for the next couple of weeks. Let's get to the Midwest region now. And we got number 1, Kansas. The Jayhawks, the number 1 seed to no one's surprise. They're going to be taking on Texas Southern or Texas A&M. Corpus Christi, the winner of that, will take on the Jayhawks. Then we got San Diego State taking on Creighton. We got Iowa taking on Richmond in the 5-12 matchup. Providence, the number 4 seed, taking on South Dakota State. They haven't lost in a very long time. They're coming in with some momentum. You got the number 6 LSU taking on number 11 Iowa State. You got number 3 Wisconsin taking on 14 Colgate. And then number 7 USC taking on number 10 Miami, Florida. And then finally, you got number 2 Auburn taking on Jacksonville State. That's not a typical 15 seed. So looking at this region of the Midwest, what are your takeaways?
It's interesting. There are potential upsets that I see here. We're looking at Richmond. Richmond hasn't made the tournament in about 11, 12 years. It's been a while for the Spiders, but they could play, as a tough challenge for Iowa. They could be a tough challenger for them. I do like this 8-9 matchup. I'm looking at San Diego State and Creighton. These are two teams that are intriguing because San Diego State is a defensive team. They could slow down your pace. Creighton, they have scores. They have guys that could, get the ball in the bucket. So it's going to be an interesting game. They do play a certain style that is different, but we'll see which one has the edge in that one. And I think whoever wins that game is actually going to make it tough on Kansas. I know Kansas is an all-around solid team. We understand Bill Self, his teams are usually the best of the best. But I believe the winner of that 8-9 could make some noise, in this region. We'll see what happens moving forward. If you did tell me, like, if you did ask me who I'm going to take in that one, I'd probably take. I'm leaning towards San Diego State for
Yeah.
now, but we'll see as we go forward. And then looking at the rest of this bracket, I see LSU, but I don't know if I could trust LSU in that spot against Iowa State. I think Iowa State could possibly become, a Cinderella among this region as well. Wisconsin, I do see them, getting past Colgate. That is, Wisconsin is a team that isn't really being talked about, but
Yeah.
they could have gotten a second seed. They have had a good year, so them being at the 3 spot is pretty dangerous for anyone in this section. And then USC and Miami, I think Miami is actually going to pull off the upset in that one. So if you're asking me Cinderella of this region, I'd either go with Miami or, again, the winner of that 8-9 matchup with San Diego State and Creighton. And then Auburn, lastly, look, they're
Yeah.
a team that could go all the way. Of course, they're one of the teams that everyone's talking about right now. And it's funny because in the preseason, the Tigers, they had 60-1 odds to win it all, right? And now that 10-1. So they have moved up the charts quickly. And why is that? Because Jabari Smith, a guy who I believe, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch the NBA, watch out for Jabari Smith. I believe he's going to be the number 1 pick. I think he's number 1 on my big board right now. So just watch out for him. He's just a freak athlete. He's a big man that could shoot the ball, that could get to the hole, plays good defense. They're going to lean on him, of course. That's what they've been doing all year. That's why they have been so successful this time around, right? Being 15-3 in the SEC. They do have, though, the problem that I have with Auburn, and the reason why I don't think I could really trust them in this spot is because their defense at times a bit vulnerable, and their offense has, certain lapses in play where, you expect them to win games and they haven't. And we even saw this in the conference tournament where they just didn't show up, right? So despite the fact that they do have currently the 5th best odds to win the whole thing, I don't know if I could trust them moving forward. But if they do make it out of here, it's going to be because of Jabari Smith. But the team I'm going to say is actually going to get out of here, Iowa. I think Iowa, who actually just won the Big Ten tournament over Purdue today, they're a team that is definitely strong in both sides of the ball, especially offensively. You're looking at Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray, he's one of the best scorers in college basketball right now. And in terms of the Big Ten, he was just going crazy in terms of his shooting, his percentage wise, his decision making, and just his shot selection in general is just off the charts. So if they are your pick, if I was your pick, that's the guy you're looking at. Keegan Murray. Keep that name in your head. He's going to be somebody on the next level as well. So yeah, give me the Iowa Hawkeyes as the favorite here. And for teams to watch, look at these teams: San Diego State and Creighton, the winner of that. And then you're looking at Miami. Miami could play dark horse in this spot.
That's a hot take, man. So you're saying the number 5 Iowa are
Yeah.
going to get out of this
Yep, they
region?
are. They're going to meet up
Wow.
with. I think they're going to meet up with Kansas possibly, and they're going to beat Kansas. I think Kansas, of course, good team all around, right? They have some of the best scores in the nation, but I think that Iowa has what it takes to go all the way in terms of getting to the Final Four. I really do.
Man, Jelani sold me on Iowa. I don't want to plagiarize his pick here, but I'm liking that.
I
So
hope I'm right. I hope I'm right because look,
if you want to, no, it's a good under the radar pick. And you look at Iowa, I will say this about them: they're number 4th in the nation in scoring. This team can score the basketball and hang
they
with the
can.
best of
Yeah.
them. And when you look at odds to potentially make a run, they got great odds right now. So I really like that, and that's why I just wanted to make sure you were on board with Iowa, which you are. For me, I'm going to be a little bit more reserved, if you will. I think my favorite in this one, and the team that I think is going to come on out, is Auburn, like you alluded to. I know you say they do have some issues, but I think ultimately they have a deep team and they have a championship team. Now, the key with them is going to be their guard play. Their guard play needs to step up, especially as they progress later on in these rounds. So that will be my favorite. My dark horse team, you mentioned them earlier, Wisconsin. I think they're in a favorable spot at number 3. I know Colgate, they went on a run. I think it was last year. They were like the darlings of the tournament, or it might have been the year before that. But if Wisconsin could get past this tricky matchup of Colgate, I think it'll open things up for them to at least make it to the Sweet 16. Because you look at LSU, I mean, there's a lot of disruption there right now. They had a coaching
Right.
change, so I don't think they're going to be necessarily a team that would strike fear. And then you got Iowa State, again, another team that I think Wisconsin could beat potentially if that were the matchup in the second round. So I'm going Wisconsin as my dark horse, my favorite being Auburn, but Jelani sold me, guys. Number 5,
Yep.
Iowa. I like that a
Go
lot,
Iowa.
especially if they go up against Kansas.
Yeah, go Iowa. And I know Kansas, look, they're a nation best, 12 wins against quadrant one teams and just one loss outside of quadrant one. But I think that Iowa is a team to really watch because at times we see teams like the fourth and fifth seeds, all the time, every year. There's one of those teams that manages to just pull through and beat the better squads. So this could be Iowa in this spot.
I love it. All right. Last but not least, we got the final region. We got the East region, and obviously number 1, the defending champs. They're going to be a back-to-back number 1 seed. They're dangerous to possibly repeat. And I'm talking about the Baylor Bears. They're going to be taking on Norfolk State at that number 16 spot coming in. Then you got North Carolina, Jelani's team, taking on Marquette in a very tough 8-9 matchup, I got to say.
Yeah, it is
Then
tough.
you got number 5 St. Mary's taking on the winner of Wyoming or Indiana. They're actually the last 2 teams to get into the tournament. Then you got UCLA, winners of 8 of their last 10, taking on Akron. Then you got Texas taking on Virginia Tech. They did win their first ACC tournament as they beat Duke. That was one of the surprises earlier. Then you got Purdue taking on Yale in the 3 versus 14 matchup. Then you got Murray State, a very impressive team, well earned here, getting the number 7 seed, taking on San Francisco, first tourney appearance since 1998. Great to see a fresh team in the tournament. And then you got another dangerous team, Kentucky, number 2, taking on St. Peter's to close out this region. What are your takeaways of this East region?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the bracket right now, and of course, my team is here, North Carolina Tar Heels Nation, stand up. However, Marquette, that's going to be a tough matchup. And then if we do win, Baylor's right there waiting for us. Yeah, Baylor is a team that a lot of people are looking at possibly to get out of the East, but I don't think it's that easy for them. I honestly think it's probably, arguably, the toughest road to the Final Four. You're looking at teams that could get in their way, like North Carolina. You're obviously looking at UCLA. UCLA is a strong team, a strong group. Purdue, a team I love. And then you're looking at Kentucky, of course. Kentucky could beat anybody in this tournament. And there are scary teams when you're watching Texas, when you're watching Virginia Tech. There are games where they have shown they could beat the best of the best. So I don't think this is going to be an easy stretch for Baylor. I don't think this is a surefire bet, honestly. I don't think that if you're asking me, am I comfortable with betting this number 1 seed? No, I'm not. I think this is the least comfort I have looking at a number 1 seed. So I wouldn't go there. The team I've been on and off about is Purdue. I think Purdue could go all the way, but I also don't think they could go all the way. Purdue has Jaden Ivey, a guy who I think is number 2 on my board right now. If you're talking about NBA prospects right now behind Jabari Smith, Ivey is sensational. Okay, he's definitely NBA ready. He's a 17-5-3 type guy, shooting around 47%, right? And he's had a good tournament, good Big Ten tournament, even though they lost today. He has been showing us flashes of brilliance throughout the year. 12 out of 19 games this calendar year, he's hit his points average or above his points average. So he's been in the 20s consistently. He understands how to create for his other guys on the court. I just look at the fact that they also have Travion Williams and Toronto native Zach Edey, 2 big men that could definitely cause issues for any squad. The only problem is their defense. Their defense cannot be trusted. That's what we saw today against one of the best scoring teams in the nation, which was Iowa. The Hawkeyes managed to pull it through late because Purdue just couldn't finish the job. Their offense was there, but their defense wasn't. And if you're looking at this section, this region of the bracket, there are plenty of teams that know how to score points. There are plenty of teams that could cause problems for Purdue in that area. So as somebody who thinks Purdue can go all the way, I have some second thoughts on whether or not they'll be able to just, stay put, stay in their spots, because they are a good team. Overall, Purdue is, to me, the best 3 seed among all the 3 seeds here in this bracket. And they have Jaden Ivey, a guy who is probably going to become a household name. Expect it in a few weeks, everyone's going to be saying his name, right? If you don't watch college ball, you're going to know who he is, right? So Purdue, though, I'm going to lean with them as the favorite. But am I convinced? Am I like, is it 100% sure? No, I'm not 100% sure, just because of their defense and the inconsistency that I've seen all year from them. Now, as for a team to watch in terms of possible upsets, Murray State. Murray State, you guys do know this school, okay? If you watch college ball, if you don't, you do know the school. Why? Because John Morant, that's where he showed us his brilliance initially, right? And Murray State, they have been continuing to play good basketball even without Morant. 30-2 on the year. They finished the regular season first in the Ohio Valley Conference. And when you're looking at KJ Williams, the conference player of the year for Ohio Valley, he was putting up 18 points per game, which was first in the conference, also 8.6 boards, which was second in the conference. He's going to be their focal point. He's going to be the reason why they do beat teams. They'll need him. They'll need him against teams like you're seeing in the tournament here, because if they move on, possibly going to play Kentucky, right? You're going to need KJ Williams. If you're going to meet up with Purdue, or say a team like Baylor deep down in the Sweet 16 range, or Elite 8 range, sorry, you're going to need him to show up for you. So Murray State, I do think they're a good team. They're fast. They know how to really go off in transition, right? And when you're looking at the fact that they're the 6th OVC team to finish the regular season unbeaten in the history of that conference, they're very impressive to me. I think this is a team that no one wants to face at this time of year, because this is, to me, one of the most, one of the most likely picks for Cinderella. Among the whole tournament, I'd look at Murray State and say, if you're asking me, Jelani, who are you going with in terms of a Cinderella pick? It would be Murray State in this part of the bracket. So yeah, Murray State, my dark horse here, and the team that I do think is getting through, Purdue. We'll see what happens with Jaden Ivey. We'll see what happens with that defense and things of that nature. But again, they dropped another Big Ten tournament. We thought this would be the year. They haven't won a Big Ten since 2009, their only win. But they're looking on to the real tournament, the real dance now. So we'll see what happens with Purdue.
Yeah, I like Purdue too. I think it's ultimately going to come down to Purdue or Kentucky to get out of this thing. I'm going to side with Kentucky, though. I think they will prevail, and they're, to me, a real threat to win the entire thing. Just looking at their body of work, what they've been able to do in terms of Cinderella, dark horse, if you will. Going to go a little off the board here. I'm going to go with St. Mary's. You look at what St. Mary's has done this season. They finished second on the West Coast. They've always been just behind Gonzaga, but they got a couple of nice wins to their name, and they are the 5 seed. I think they're going to be able to get through either Wyoming or Indiana, and that's a team that I could see, for as crazy as it might sound, knock off Baylor. I mean, you talked about a number 5 in Iowa in our last region of causing some damage. I look at St. Mary's as being the number 5 in this region to cause some damage and really turn a lot of heads. So I think all in all, this should be a tournament that does see a lot of upsets, especially you welcome in the fan factor. But we've seen it all year, Jelani, in college hoops. A lot of parity, a lot of uncertainty, and just expect the unexpected. And I really think that's going to be heightened with this March Madness tournament, with a lot of craziness that we could expect. All in all, it should be a great one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, because when you're looking at last year was actually a year where we were like, who's going to win this tournament? And then it ended up being Baylor, a strong team. And then you obviously had Gonzaga, who again was the number 1 seed. This time around, I don't even know if a number 1 is going to win the tournament. I would not be surprised if a 3 even won this tournament, because there are so many teams all year long. We've been saying, oh, the champions could be Villanova, it could be Gonzaga, it could be Kansas, Baylor, Arizona, Purdue. It could be any of these teams. So when you're looking at the whole talent pool spread out, and why is it so spread out? Because there's the transfer portal, of course. So there are teams that have gotten better. There are teams that have gotten stronger due to their experience that they're gaining from that transfer portal. So that's why the talent pool all spread out now, and you're seeing so many more teams being real contenders in this tournament. It's going to be very interesting to see. And I know a lot of people are going to say the Gonzaga Bulldogs should win the tournament. They should. If you're looking at the overall teams in terms of their roster construction, in terms of their coaching mixed in with their talent, it has to be Gonzaga. But I just don't know if it's going to happen. I like Mark Few a lot. He's one of the best coaches in college ball. He's been one of the best coaches in college basketball history. Really, look at his body of work since getting to the Bulldogs. But it's been year after year where there's always a letdown. I think, and I said this last year, I thought last year was their best shot to win the championship. We'll see what happens this time around, right? And it's interesting because only 3 Western teams have won the chip in the last 45 tournaments. It's been UNLV in 1990, UCLA in 95, and Arizona in 1997. So there aren't too many, teams out west or in the Pac-12 that have success. So like I mentioned, Pac-12, Arizona, another team that we could possibly see go all the way. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's for me, it's just the fact of the matter is Gonzaga is the talk of the town. When you're talking about the storylines of this tournament, you're talking about the parity that we're seeing, but you're also talking about the favorite. The favorite are the Bulldogs. I don't know what's going to happen with them, but I like you said, this could be a tournament where we do see plenty of upsets. Do not be surprised. It happens every single year. Your bracket's probably going to be busted by day 2. So if you have some team in mind that you think could make an upset, just put the bet in. Just put it in because you never know. It's a 1-game elimination. A lot of teams do end up losing, and we're seeing, like we mentioned earlier in the show, 6 versus 11. 11 seeds do find a lot of success in that area. Even more success happens with the 12 seeds playing the 5s, right? And when you're talking about the money line in terms of the 8-9s, it could go either way. So yeah, like you mentioned, man, it's going to be very interesting. A lot of odds have gone with those teams I mentioned before, but any team could come out of this. So that's why I'm looking at teams like Iowa to make the Final Four. I think Purdue could make the Final Four. We'll see what happens with them. But yeah, don't be surprised if a team like Gonzaga or Arizona doesn't win this thing.
Yeah, I think you're really lenient with that statement. I think my bracket's going to be busted after the first game. Never mind the second day. I think it's going to be that type of tournament. And
Same.
yeah, look for a lot of 12s or 13s to make a run and provide some special March Madness moments. And with the fans there, it's going to be truly special. I think it's going to return with a bang, and that is the 2022 March Madness pool. Well, that will wrap up our reaction to Selection Sunday. We now know our brackets. Start crunching the numbers, start doing your research, start making those brackets as we will see whose bracket will survive the mayhem that will come. But we will have continued coverage of March Madness here on Parleh Madness, powered by Duke's freshly crafted smoked meats. We want to thank you for watching and listening this first installment of this programming. My name is Luca Rosano, alongside my co-host Jelani Goodrich Reid, and we will be providing nonstop, ongoing coverage of March Madness 2022. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you all again in the next one.